The Public Service Commission is a small agency in Montana's executive branch, but it plays a big role ensuring affordable and reliable energy for Montanans. 3 commissioner seats are on the ballots in this year's election, and as Montana PBS's Sam Wilson reports, the outcome could define the future of Montana's public utilities.
Hi, folks. Are you guys from Polson area? Yeah? Can I bother you for a second? My name's Elena Evans, and I'm running for the Public Service Commission. They regulate monopoly utilities.
When Elena Evans decided to run for a seat on the Public Service Commission against unopposed incumbent Jennifer Fielder, the first step was just getting her name out there.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, folks. Are you all from Polson area? Or?
I am.
Running for office wasn't something I was planning on at all this year. It wasn't on my bingo card, you might say. But then after the primary filing deadline passed and there wasn't anybody really running against the incumbent, at a certain point, when you talk a lot, you just kind of gotta put your actions behind your words. And so I found myself learning more about what it would take to get on the ballot.
To get on the ballot after the filing deadline, Evans had to get 3,050 signatures and run without party affiliation. She nearly doubled that number and has tried to keep the momentum in her campaign against Fielder, who served 2 terms on the Montana Senate before joining the PSC in 2021, representing District 4 in northwest Montana.
It was actually a really refreshing change from being a legislator where politics are with you every day. But at the Montana Public Service Commission, you don't bring your politics into the agency. That's not what happens there. We go in there and we've got laws to operate under, and we need to be fair and objective in dealing with the parties that come before us, whether they're parties that are applying for an action for the commission or parties that are opposing those parties, wanting to stop us from acting. We have to treat everyone fair, and I've endeavored to do that, and that's been really enjoyable.
David Sanders is the PSC's executive director, a relatively new position in the agency that answers to the 5 commissioners.
The Montana Public Service Commission works for the people of Montana, and we try to protect and balance the roles of regulated public entities and the people that they serve. And so that balance includes sometimes safety regulations, sometimes economic regulations, but trying to make sure that we have safe, reliable, and affordable public utilities. Montana has 5 elected commissioners, and there will be 3 commissioners elected this election cycle. They're not elected at large, meaning statewide. Those 5 commissioners represent a specific district. And that was done by the legislature to try to bring a diversity of Montana's environments. I think people in eastern Montana will tell you it's significantly different from the communities in western Montana. These are complex jobs, no question about it. And being an effective public service commissioner requires a lot of study.
That complexity keeps the Public Service Commission on the margins of public attention. But nothing cuts through jargon like increased bills, and a unanimous vote from the PSC in late 2023 to approve a historic rate hike requested by Northwestern Energy has focused the spotlight on the otherwise quiet agency.
I wish it would have been a lot lower. The worst thing in the world is to have to go in and consider voting for a rate increase. Nobody wants that. I don't want it. My constituents don't want it. My husband certainly doesn't want it. And I know my fellow commissioners don't want to have to do that. But it is our job to fairly evaluate the evidence and to allow the company to pass on their valid expenses for providing the service to the customers.
I think like most people, we've had increased costs and we're kind of feeling the pinch. My family, we have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old and my husband, and so when we had that cold snap, I was putting cardboard up into windows and putting blankets on things to try and keep our energy costs low because I knew it was going to be high. And I think the job is to ask hard questions. I think it's important to work closely with the folks you're regulating and show them respect, but I don't think that should result in rubber stamping of cost increases. The job is to regulate monopoly utilities and make sure that customers are served and that profits aren't out of control. And so that's not happening right now.
If anyone that's saying that we're rubber stamping is frankly quite ignorant about what's actually happening at the commission. Anyone who's saying that the commission is broken is quite ignorant about the way the commission operates and the improvements that it's made over the last 4 years and the way it's rebuilt itself into a credible agency. Some problems were widely reported in the media. There was commissioner infighting, there was factionalization amongst the staff. It was just an unhealthy workplace culture. I took on a role as a commissioner with extra duties my first couple years to help reform the agency and address those shortcomings, and we've done really well. The agency's a great place to work now. It's a good, credible agency. I think we've rebuilt the reputation and have a much better relationship with the legislature and with the public.
When Tom Schneider served on the Public Service Commission in the 70s, 80s, and mid-aughts, the big conversations were about the development of the Colstrip generating plant and the aftermath of deregulation.
The big issues at the commission are always energy resource choices. They have a lot to do with how much you and I, everybody, pays in their bills. And if they make poor or imprudent choices, if they continue to be mired in fossil fuel plants that were constructed back in the 70s and 80s, you're going to pay a high price for that.
Hi there. Hello. I'm Brad Molnar.
There are other issues driving the race for the 2nd District in south central Montana, where Brad Molnar is hoping to get elected to a 3rd term on the commission after serving on the Montana Senate for the last 4 years.
In about 2 weeks, the ballots come out. It's been like 12 years since I've been a commissioner. So I'm trying to get my name out there a little bit. Would it be okay if I put one of my signs out by the street and took it up the day after the election?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, great.
With that.
Assuming I get elected, I already have 8 years experience. I have 4 years on the Energy Committee in the Senate, which is 4 more years experience. I have been involved in and worked with the commission on several projects that have been very big. So for 20 years I've been in this.
Challenging Molnar is Susan Below, a Democrat from Bozeman. Below says she has 30 years of experience in the energy industry and that the solution for lowering electricity bills is simple. Invest in renewable energy technology.
If I were serving in the PSC right now and they came to and I were to vote, I would say no. I will not approve your rate increase because you are not looking at efficiency measures on both sides of the meter and you are not giving renewable energy a fair shake. Because right now, utility scale wind and solar, even with battery storage, these cute little things right here, well, on a much bigger scale, right, they can store electricity chemically. And even with those power plants will cost less to build and operate and lower our bills, and they're not being considered. Now, a lot of people will ask, well, how?
Now, for the first time, you're hearing, but we have batteries. We can put it in batteries. We can store it. Well, yippee skippy. Okay, how else does the battery function when it's 32 below zero? Well, we did some testing. We think it did fine. Okay, did you put it in Fargo, North Dakota, or Billings, Montana, or where? Well, we did it in a lab. When you say renewables, it's cheaper because there's no fuel cost. There's a lot of cost in building one. There's a lot of cost in mining the stuff for them. There's a lot of risk in relying on rare earth metals that come from China. Okay, but as far as cost goes, you're right. Until it doesn't work.
There are facilities that can cost less and provide electricity and be reliable and clean. We can have it all. What they're doing is they just invested in that Yellowstone County natural gas plant in Laurel. They want to acquire more shares of Colstrip. And the reason they want to do that is because that provides a return on investments. They can recover the fuel cost. But the PSC can say, well, yes, you're a company, you're allowed to make a profit for yourself and your shareholders, but where's that line drawn on you making a profit and then not overcharging our customers? So the PSC needs to say, hey, there are more affordable options that you need to consider because you can still make a profit on that. But Northwestern Energy doesn't want to look at some of the more affordable options because they can't make as much money.
The Public Service Commission, I used to, maybe someday will, actually become auditors. That's all we are as auditors. We're not determining that Northwestern gets this. It's by law, what are they allowed to recoup? By law, what is the rate, a reasonable rate of return because they're a publicly held corporation? By law, did they make decisions that they would have made if they had had competition that would have come in and swooped up their customers? And so that's where the big fight is.
The first word in Public Service Commission is public. And so that's who we're here to serve. And there's, over 1 million people in the state who all deserve the right to be heard on the work that comes before us and the rest of the government for that matter. But especially because they have a direct stake in, what their electric rates are going to be, what their natural gas rates are going to be, whether or not there's going to be a train derailment in the river in front of their home, whether or not there's a lot of things that need to happen and be done right at this commission in order for them to enjoy the fruits of living in this great state.
For Impact, I'm Sam Wilson.
In the race for the 3rd District of the Public Service Commission, Republican State Senator Jeff Wellborn is facing Democrat Leonard Williams. The winner will represent Southwest and Central Montana.